Hello, it's Jeremy. There's been a lot of stuff in the media, and we've been getting questions, and people ask me, what do I think of the NBN, the National Broadband Network, which is currently being constructed? And people say, is it a good idea? Is it too expensive? I mean, there's all these. A lot of it is misconceptions. Okay, let's face it. The media reports on things that are interesting, supposedly interesting. And politicians and people who are making announcements, they've got their reasons for making the announcements that they want to make, right? So let's not pretend like everything that comes out of a newspaper or a website or whatever is perfectly factual and unbiased and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not an expert at NBN. I am not an expert with fibre broadband. I haven't read everything there is to read about it, but having been around internet connections in Australia for a long time, I can tell you one thing for certain, is there is a lot of money gets wasted looking after the current telephone network. I don't know the exact figures on how many technicians Telstra currently has, but I'm pretty sure it's in the thousands. And whenever you see a Telstra van or going around, or someone that's fixing up phone lines in the street and things like that, you've got to remember that some of this infrastructure was put in a long time ago. And so, if you're in a new housing estate, well, all the ducting and the pits and the stuff in the street, which is where your phone line runs, may be fantastic. Maybe it's perfect and brand new. But the majority of housing in Australia and the street cabling is not perfect, and it's not brand new, and things happen, like the concrete tops on the pits get run over and broken by trucks, or the cabling gets corroded or whatever. And always people are having trouble with their internet because there's a big storm and then there's water in cabling or something or whatever. So let's not pretend like what we've got at the moment is perfect, because it isn't. And as a business, if you rely on your internet connection for what you do, the reliability is very high, and we should be thankful that we don't live in a country where it's hard to even get a phone line. But there's no, the current system, the current network is not this flawless thing that is just going to keep going on forever without. I don't know, but don't act like it costs money to keep it going the way it is, right? It's not free. The broadband network we have right now costs a lot of money to keep it running. And it doesn't matter if we replace the cabling with fibre optic now or in 10 years' time. It still costs money to keep the current one running, okay? It needs repairs, things have to be fixed, there's pipes that have to be replaced, there's pits to be replaced, there's all sorts of things. So the thing with the broadband network is, maybe right now it's not totally necessary, but I guess you could make the same claim for a lot of sort of public goods or things that are invested in. Is it necessary to have a highway? Is it necessary to have Sydney Harbour Tunnel or what? There's different things in terms of infrastructure that are capacity building, which you will pay off over a period of time, and can be expensive to start with. But I think people are maybe missing how quickly our world and our country are becoming information dominated. You went back 10 years ago, and maybe businesses didn't even have an email address. It's still possible, but the swiftness of things changing, and people wanting to get their security cameras coming through to their phone, and they're wanting to use cloud services to store their email in and their files in, and all. It's just changing really fast. And the thing with infrastructure like the broadband network is it takes years to do, because you've got to have people out there in trucks with diggers and trench cutters and people rolling out cable, and it takes time. It doesn't just happen by itself. So look, let's think about this as it's a 10-20 year project. It's not something that's just oh, we'll put it in next year kind of thing. Okay, so when you're looking at the speed that they're saying for the broadband network, it's a bit of you're probably maybe even confused about what speed you're getting now. So if you're currently downloading files to your computer at 250 kbps, which stands for kilobytes per second, so that's number of kilobytes to your computer in one second. The speed rating that you'll see on the broadband network speeds are in Mbps, or megabits per second, and so there's 8 bits in a byte. Okay, so if you take the lowest speed that is currently offered on the broadband network for people who can get it, it's 12 megabits per second download and 1 megabit per second upload. And there are different providers doing different speeds, but that's a common starting point. So if you have a 12 megabit per second download, that is going to give you an effective speed of information coming into you of, so divided by, and that's not perfect, but divided by 8 roughly, okay? So you're going to get 1.5 megabytes per second approximately download if it gives you that maximum speed, or 1,500 kilobytes per second. So at the moment, most people who have an ADSL connection in Australia are getting between 150 kilobytes per second up to maybe 1,000 kilobytes per second, and there'll be extremes at either end, but that's probably about average. So right now in our office, on each of our internet connections, we're about 1 kilometre from the telephone exchange, and we get about 1 megabyte per second, more or less. So 1,000 kilobytes a second download. And so I've seen a connection where it's on ADSL too, but being nearly 5 kilometres from the telephone exchange, and it gets 250 kilobytes per second. So that's a quarter of the amount of information per second. So how does that compare? So on our ADSL2 connection, which we have, which is pretty fast, but you know, we're not right next to the exchange, we get 1,000 kilobytes a second, which if you took the slowest speed for the broadband network, you should get, regardless of distance, half as much data again compared to that. And there will be people who will have an ADSL connection, ADSL2 connection, that are getting 12 megabits per second. That's possible, but they will be quite close to the telephone exchange, good cabling, all that sort of stuff. If you're getting 250 kilobytes per second, then you're getting 2 megabits per second. So the minimum speed for the national broadband network is 25 megabits per second, which means that your connection that you have now, which is 250 kilobytes per second, so it's 2 megabits per second, is going to be about 12 times faster than what you're currently getting. And the maximum speed for the national broadband network at the moment is 100 megabits per second. So that's about 50 times faster. And faster is used probably in the wrong way. It's 50 times more information per second to your computer. Whew. I know it's a lot of numbers, okay? But the thing to remember is the technology we're using now, it's not free. It costs money to upkeep. It's reaching a peak of its functional capacity in terms of what we can currently connect on. We're paying for repairs to the network anyway. there's thousands of technicians running around the country repairing dead telephone lines and problems and things like that. And that's, why not have them build out better infrastructure as well? So the other thing with the fiber is, just because it's like the maximum now is 100 megabits per second download, that's not like a theoretical maximum for fiber connection. In the future, it could be expanded to a gigabit per second, like 1,000 megabits per second, if it was, you know, the infrastructure was upgraded and like that. Like it can be upgraded, and there's all this talk about wireless, and you've also got to think like, yeah, okay, so wireless is important and it'll still be around, and you need both technologies. But wireless is inherently inefficient. You're broadcasting all this basically energy out into the area to make it so everybody's phones can talk to the wireless. And you are sharing a certain amount of bandwidth. So if you've got a telephone tower and there's 1,000 people in that cell, they've all got to share that set of frequencies that the phone tower can operate on. Whereas on a fiber internet connection, everybody gets their own connection basically. So that's an oversimplification, but that's the essence of it. So, yes, I am biased. So yes, I think the broadband network's a good idea because I work on the internet, and you know, I want to see the internet be fast and easy to use and that kind of thing. I guess unless you think like suddenly the internet's going to disappear, in some form or other, it'll be available, and we're going to be using it for a while, like a long time in the future probably. You know, unless suddenly wireless internet somehow becomes like magically amazingly faster and never has any problems, you know, that it'll be necessary to have fixed line connections and wireless and satellite and whatever. It does cost money to build, but also it's not like, I don't know, people sometimes say like, oh, well, you should put the money into hospitals. Okay, but a hospital's like a bottomless pit of money. You build a hospital, it costs money to keep it running. There's no, like, it doesn't just, you know, fix all the problems in a way. You can't just go, oh, well, we'll put $10 billion into paying for medical treatments. Well, but that doesn't mean that, like, then suddenly that's fixed the problem and no one needs treatment anymore. Like, it's an endless amount of money you could spend on hospitals. Like, there's never going to be a situation where we say, oh, we spent too much money on hospitals because now everybody's too healthy or something. So the broadband network is essentially a kind of investment where it's infrastructure which is going to make the country more efficient. It's going to create jobs indirectly and directly. And it's, I mean, yeah, it costs money to do, but so does, like, you know, highways cost billions of dollars as well, and people are happy for those to be built for the most part. So I think we can't really appreciate the difference in efficiency it's going to make. But if you just want to take, like, I'll just take the microcosm of what I see. And, you know, on any given week, there will be a couple of hours that we spend wasted on troubleshooting internet connections. You know, people who we tell reset your modem, call Telstra, you know, whatever. Just time, that really doesn't need to be spent. You know, if there was no fault on the phone line or something, then it wouldn't be necessary. So there's this time that's being wasted on a daily basis in businesses and in homes on, like, dealing with faulty phone lines and problems like that, which, if you have a fiber internet connection, is inherently less susceptible to things like rain and wires getting crossed over and all these sorts of things which you don't necessarily see, but they happen every day. And it's much faster. I mean, if you look at just like take the last, say, 5 years. So iPhone came out in 2007, iPhone 3, 2008. So 5 years, say, of iPhones, a few years of iPads, and we've gone from, you know, when I was repairing a computer in a home, say 10 years ago or 8 years ago, there'd be one computer, maybe two. Two would be like, that's like a wealthy family or something. You know, there'd be maybe one computer and a laptop. You go into a home now and there's in Australia, there's probably a desktop computer. Probably each of the people in the house has either a laptop or an iPad, or maybe both. And everybody in the house who's probably over 15 will have a phone which also connects to the internet. So the number of devices that are using the internet connection in those homes has gone from like 1 or 2 to, in a house of 4 people with, you know, teenagers and 2 adults, or something in that, you know, whatever number of people, but maybe 10 devices. And it's only in the space of like 4 or 5 years, if that. They've gone from computer and a phone that dials the phone calls to half a dozen different computer devices. And all these things need internet connections. They've all got to download updates. They all want to get on YouTube. They all want to do whatever. And we are in the infancy of publishing video and audio. Like, if you just... I was thinking about this the other day. If I wanted to record a video and get it onto the internet 10 years ago, it was expensive, thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment to do anything that was decent. Hard to upload over dial-up, that's for sure. And nobody would be able to watch it because the internet was too slow anyway. Now, in people's pockets, we have phones which have high-definition videos that, in theory, well, and they could stream that to an internet server so other people could watch it. And there was a photo I saw which is like the Pope being inducted or whatever, and this year everybody in the audience had like a camera up in their standing looking up at the Pope with the phone in front of them. And the previous induction of the previous Pope, there was like 2 people or something. It takes ages to upload this video. This video I'm recording now is going to sit and churn away on our secondary internet connection for probably an hour or something, uploading. And it's not in super duper high quality or anything. It's not high definition even. You know, if I recorded this in high definition, it'd probably upload for the whole day. You might not be interested in publishing videos on the internet right now, but I can assure you that people are increasingly want to publish videos onto YouTube, onto Facebook, onto their blogs, onto whatever, and audio. And the upload speed of most people's internet connections in Australia is pretty abysmal. There's a reason why it's called ADSL. It stands for Asynchronous Digital Subscriber Line, which means faster down than up. Most people in Australia who are uploading files from an ADSL connection, they would be lucky if they're getting like 25, maybe 50 kilobytes per second upload. If you do a high definition video for even a fairly short video, it can be up to 1 gigabyte of data. So that's, if you're uploading that at 50 kilobytes per second, that's 20 lots of, so it's 20 seconds per megabyte times by 1,000 megabytes, and whatever that works out to be in minutes. But you'll never get it that efficient. It'll be more, 2 or 3 times that time. I think, okay, like, if facetiously people say, oh, well, we just need the NBN so we can watch YouTube and internet TV and stuff. The number of people who are not listening to the radio now, but they listen to podcasts on their phone, is a massive shift. People are switching off the radio and they're turning on their phone to listen to whatever show they want to listen to. We are only at the beginning of video on the internet, honestly. Like, it's just, YouTube's only really kicked in properly in the last few years. And self-publishing videos is really still in its infancy. It's not something that most people do, but that's going to change. And if you think, so if I could take a high-definition video on my phone and I can upload it fast, like if I could take it and upload it almost at the same speed as I record it, you could have people who, 2 or 3 people could record a whole concert on their phone and upload it and be turned into an online stream. You could, if it was cheap and easy to record and upload videos of presentations and church choirs and whatever, and get it onto the internet and store it cheaply and and make it like not a big hassle to get it up there, there'll be heaps more of that would happen. So look, who knows what people are going to want to use the internet for in 10 years? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know, because if you ask me 8 years ago what websites I'd be using, I would be totally wrong. So you can't just assume that, because whatever we're doing now is what we're doing, is what we'll be doing in 10 years' time. Like 10 years is a long time in technology. If you go back, I say even 5 years ago, no iPhones, no iPads. Pretty much most people were lucky if they had a laptop and a desktop computer, and now everybody's got a computer in their pocket that's more powerful than my computer was back then almost. So, sorry, it's a bit of a long diatribe, wasn't it? But I do feel like there's a lot of crap going on in the media, and people are putting out ideas just like mine, uneducated perhaps, and having their their 2 cents. So I thought, well, why not? I'll put out my 2 cents as well. If you really want to get the facts of it, then there are websites, some of them which are the NBN official website, and there's been some good critiques in the media about the NBN. But the thing is, both of the opposition and the government are basically saying, yep, it's going to get built, just a matter of how long they spread that cost out over. Whether you spend it in the next 3 years or you spend it in the next 13 years, it's money that needs to get spent anyway. It's not like the current infrastructure just runs for free. So, either we keep up with technology, or we just hope we can keep digging things out of the ground. Like a mine site uses remote technology to drive the trucks. They need fast internet connections, and there's probably 1,000 other use cases you could make for having fast internet connections and a fast network in the country even. So anyway, I got to get going. Thank you. I hope that was vaguely interesting and sort of informative, and get your facts right. I don't pretend to know everything. I certainly don't, but hopefully that's helped explain things a little bit.